He's so weak. He's now cracking down on his own finance minister, some feminist.
We've got our final House session of the year. Welcome back to Moose on Loose. My name's David, and today's top stories here in House session. We've got Jagmeet Singh, Justin Trudeau on a panel, just running their mouths about Donald Trump. This is not going to help the situation. It's in fact going to make it much worse. We've got a couple of those clips. Then we jump into the House where Pierre just completely annihilates Justin Trudeau over and over on all aspects of how Canada is broken. Let's jump into this. So we got Jagmeet Singh here on a press conference, trying to stick out his chest and be Mr. Prime Minister, talking about the Donald Trump tariff situation. This is just getting worse because Trudeau, which I'll just show you here shortly, is basically insulting Donald Trump, saying that Kamala should have won. There should have been the first female president in America, etc. But listen to this fool.
A prime minister is telling us it's okay. Oh, he's just joking. Donald Trump's just making jokes. No big deal. It is a big deal. On top of that, what we're seeing from Trudeau is that anytime Trump says jump, he says how high. That is not strength. That is not actually responding to what's going on. And then when Trump trash talks Canada, we got the leader of the Conservative Party repeating that garbage. That hurts Canada. That hurts Canadian workers. What we need to do is acknowledge that Trump is a bully. Bullies look for weakness. That's why he's trolling us. So we need to send a message of strength. We need to have a real war room ready to go.
Let me guess, Jagmeet, you're that strength that we all need, right? Captain Pension here, the pension panhandler. So check out this clip. This just happened just this morning.
No, it shouldn't be that way. It wasn't supposed to be that way. We were supposed to be on a steady, if difficult sometimes, march towards progress. And yet, just a few weeks ago, the United States voted for a second time to not elect its first woman president. Everywhere, women's rights and women's progress is under attack, overtly and subtly. But I want you to know that I am, and always will be, a proud feminist. You will always have an ally in me and in my government.
Couldn't it be argued that Joe Biden's rights were violated because he was taken out of the leadership race? Kamala didn't even win the primaries to run. How is that fair? This whole situation is ridiculous. Trudeau commenting like this, obviously, this is an insult to Donald Trump. Why would he do this when he has to work out a deal with him? This guy is an idiot who wants to hurt Canada. We've also got Jagmeet here at the same podium running his mouth.
I'm now doubly committed to equal voice. I'm doubly committed to equal voice because I'm a proud father of 2 daughters. And one of those, thank you. And the second daughter that we were waiting for is here with me tonight. So if you hear some cries, I think she's just waiting for me to get back to her. So,
oh, come on, Jagmeet. Stop using your kids as like a political prop. It's embarrassing.
I got to say, I have seen, if I can be really blunt, I've seen a lot of older white men fail upwards again and again. And that is just going to continue unless we actually try to change things. So I fundamentally believe if you don't change things, you're going to have the same system. And the same system is going to benefit those that were already in power. So you have to fundamentally do things to change it. And that's what equal voice is about. Saying we got to change the way things are if we want different results. If we want different outcomes. You can't just hope they're going to happen. You got to make them happen. And that's with policies. That's by putting in place real clear strategies. And so I want to thank you for the work you do.
It's by continuing to support Justin Trudeau, old white man failing up, right, Jagmeet? Supporting Justin Trudeau? The hypocrisy of Jagmeet Singh is unbelievable. Jagmeet stands for nothing but his pension. And jumping back over to Trudeau.
Why I've touted the adage, add women, change politics, which to us is more than just words. We've taken action to make it a reality. Appointing the first female finance minister. Under Stephen Harper, 32% of...
Okay, Trudeau, you appointed a reporter who doesn't know anything about finance as a finance minister. If you wanted to appoint a female finance minister that was qualified for the job, someone who's really good at math, who has maybe a degree or 2 or 3 in math and finance and running a country, big businesses, big budgets, a reporter though?
Judges appointed were women, 56%. Under this government.
You were the first to fire the first female Indigenous Attorney General. You forget to mention that one?
Under the new Senate appointment process, that chamber is now majority women, as is the Supreme Court. And of course, the first thing I did as Prime Minister was appoint the first gender-balanced cabinet in Canadian history. And under my leadership, that'll always be the case.
You don't want to assume someone's gender, though, Trudeau. Did you ask their gender? Did you qualify it with them first? How many genders are there? This guy likes to talk as if there's men and women, but then he is totally on board with supporting all the 97 made-up genders. Can't wait to see him gone. I don't think anyone should be bragging about Freeland.
This weak prime minister has lost control of the borders, lost control of immigration, lost control of spending, debt, and inflation. Now he's lost control of his own cabinet. Yesterday, the Globe and Mail reported that there's a big fiscal feud that has broken out between the prime minister and his finance minister. At stake is that she wanted to run a gigantic $40 billion deficit, but that was her guardrail. And now this prime minister is pushing her through that guardrail and pushing all Canadians off the fiscal cliff. Why?
Yeah. The Conservative leader likes to make up little dramas to try and distract Canadians from the fact that he voted against a tax break for all Canadians. He continues to refuse to get his security clearance because he doesn't want to keep his own MPs safe from foreign interference. That's why he's trying to distract Canadians from what's going on.
His Liberal MPs are not speaking out against him because he's allowing so much liberty. It's because he's so weak. Right. And there's nothing worse than a weak bully. He's now cracking down on his own finance minister, some feminist. On this side of this house, I lead by inspiration while he leads by intimidation. Once again, why won't he follow my inspiration and stand up for the promise that he made to keep the deficit under $40 billion?
Once again, Mr. Speaker, we see very clearly for the Leader of the Opposition, it's all about him. Well, for us, Mr. Speaker, it's all about Canadians. It's all about giving Canadians a tax break over the next 2 months that the Conservative leader
This has always been about you, Justin. Nothing is for Canadians. It's all about you.
Voted against. Right. It's about delivering dental care. We continue to be there for Canadians. He continues to be there for himself to try and block the help we're delivering to Canadians to make sure everyone thinks everything is broken because he's busy breaking it.
What is he talking about? You broke Canada, Justin, and you did it to pump up your real estate development company's value. I'm calling it as I see it. You've done nothing but serve yourself. Look at all these losers standing up. So proud of themselves destroying Canada.
He's been prime minister for 9 years.
Yeah.
Let's review the chronology. So not even 8 months ago, his minister said the deficit would not exceed $40 billion, the guardrail. Then he went and got his banker friend, Carbon Tax Carney, to become his top economic advisor, stripping the power away from his finance minister. Yeah. And suddenly, the guardrail was broken. Is he really going to subject his finance minister to the humiliation of reading Carney's fiscal update, which busts through the guardrail?
Mr. Speaker, this morning, the Bank of Canada announced interest rates are going down yet again. That is terrible news for the Leader of the Opposition.
So he was waiting for this. This is too predictable. So they cut the basis points by 50 points, 0.5% today.
But it's great news for Canadians for whom things will become more affordable. He cares more about his own political interests than he does about Canadians who are struggling.
What we're really struggling with here is looking at your hideous tie. What is this? This guy fails at all aspects in life. He can't even pick a tie that looks half decent.
To try and instrumentalize them for his own gain, but he won't lift a finger to help Canadians.
Donald Trump is a bully, and bullies prey on weakness. When Trump says jump, the Prime Minister says how high.
Yeah, come on, Jagmeet. Dude, you're the weakest man in this room.
And when Trump trash talks Canada, the leader of the Conservatives repeats that garbage. And when Trump trolls Canada, hundreds and thousands of Canadians worry that they might lose their job. Why won't the Prime Minister fight back and protect Canadian jobs?
He is such a weak posturing man. Look at it. He's puffing his chest out when I'm Prime Minister. We all know his political career is done as of February 25th.
Mr. Speaker, the job of a Canadian Prime Minister is to stand up for Canadian jobs, for Canadian workers, the Canadian economy. That is exactly what we are doing with a level of serious and a level of focus and, quite frankly, a Team Canada approach. That is why we will continue to take this seriously, not freak out like the NDP or repeat the attacks like the Conservatives. We will stand up for Canadians like we have before, as we will again.
Yeah, just standing up for Canadians, just doing such a great job at that. Congratulations, Captain Schmuck. So many people living in Trudeau towns full of Trudeau tents.
Quote, Finance Minister, 2022. This is a line we shall not cross. Then she listed 3 lines. 1, that the deficit would only go down. It went up. 2, that she would pay off the COVID debt. Not only has she not paid off a penny, the debt has gone up. And 3, that the debt to GDP ratio would only drop, and it has risen. Did the finance minister voluntarily cross her own lines, or did the prime minister push her?
Something to note here today in Argentina, for the first time in 123 years, they have no debt. Their new leader there has completely gotten rid of all his government spending, and they are no longer in debt. It's quite amazing.
Speaker, the leader of the opposition is once again putting on his little dramatic acts because he is trying to distract Canadians from the core facts. Interest rates are down again. Twice this past week saw that this House has no confidence in him.
Prime Minister is silencing his own finance minister. She was already wildly irresponsible with the public purse, but not irresponsible enough for him. She wanted to keep the deficit at a already massive $40 billion. He said it's not enough. Canadians are not paying enough inflation, according to him. So once again, did she voluntarily smash through her fiscal guardrail, or did he push her?
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, the leader of the opposition puts on these little performances because he wants to try and distract Canadians.
Why does he keep saying this? He's just trying to flip it around. It's like, we know you're the drama teacher, Trudeau, who puts on performances. You're the loser who was given this job because your dad's name. You've achieved nothing in your life, and you've destroyed Canadian lives. You'll have to live your days knowing that you've put so many people into tents on the street.
We have the lowest deficit amongst G7 countries, #1 per capita in the G20.
Oh, we have the #1 laundry machines in the world. We wash all the money the cleanest. I don't think he realizes that Canadians don't believe a single word he says. Even if any of the stats he ever says are true, we all just assume that he's lying every time he opens his mouth.
I know Canadians do not have confidence in him, nor does his own party or his own cabinet, nor apparently does the Bank of Canada, which today was forced into an emergency panicked rate cut to confront the collapsing economy. The governor of the bank said the economy is softer than he expected it would be, and despite the fact that inflation is rising, that all 4 measures of it are above the target, he's being forced to cut the rates to save the economy from outright collapse. When will the Prime Minister stop breaking the economy and call a carbon tax election so we can fix it?
This is completely illogical.
Say that in English. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, he's just making this stuff up in a way you couldn't believe. Inflation has been within the target range of the Bank of Canada for over 10 months now. This is because we have been there to help Canadians with things like dental care.
Yeah, we don't want your help. Go away, Trudeau.
Or like a school food program with investments that are growing the economy in a way that has brought down inflation and allowed.
In a way that has brought up the value of your real estate development company.
Inflation's up. Right. All 4 measures of inflation are now above target. Unemployment's up. In Toronto, it's over 10%. You know what else is up? Housing costs. They've actually doubled. They've risen more than in any other country in the G7. You know what else is up? Food bank use is up. It too has doubled, with 2 million people lined up at the food bank. And you know what else is up again? the promise-breaking inflationary deficit. So why doesn't he tell us if he's figured out how to count what the deficit will be this year?
Right.
Mr. Speaker, one has to take a moment to appreciate how difficult it must be to be the leader of the opposition at a time when things are getting better for Canadians.
This guy is just a gaslighter, unbelievable. It takes a special kind of evil to keep running our country into the ground when he knows nobody wants him to be leading our country. This man is just deranged.
He's voted against the dental care. As Canadians are starting to come through the difficult times the global economy has put them in, he needs to continue to talk down Canadians, talk down our economy, and scare people into voting for him. It won't work.
This week, Prime Minister has lost control of our borders. He started by teaming up with the British Columbia NDP to decriminalize fentanyl. He has kept the fentanyl precursor, 80% of fentanyl precursor ingredients legal. He allows 99% of shipping containers to come into our country uninspected. And he passed C5, which gives house arrest to the kingpins who produce this poison. Will he reverse his radical liberalization of drugs so that not one more mother will have the heartbreak of losing a child to overdoses?
Mr. Speaker, the toxic drug epidemic has been hitting hard in communities right across this country and indeed across North America. That is why we have been stepping up in an evidence-based, compassion-based, public health-based approach.
Compassion for who, man? For the bus drivers who have to quickly pull over and get off the bus because people are lighting up in the back of the bus and they don't want to be exposed to toxic chemicals? The kids in the playground who are exposed to toxic chemicals? The nurses at work who are exposed to toxic chemicals? That's right. They don't kick out people for doing that hard candy that sounds like fennel in the hospital. They let them do it in the hospital.
We're going to continue to lean on scientists and researchers and compassionate frontline workers. It is not more ideology proposed by the leader of the opposition that is going to solve this. It is the careful application of reasonable responses.
That's right.
Trudeau has never given a reasonable response to anything in his life. There's nothing reasonable about his government. There's nothing reasonable about how he conducts himself as the Prime Minister.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
It is his weird woke liberalization ideology that has caused the 47,000 deaths and the 200% increase in overdoses. But just like he has lost control of the drugs, he's lost control of immigration. Don't take my word for it. The Globe and Mail said, and I quote, the Liberal government lost control of Canada's immigration system, highlighting that there are now 30,000 people who have been ordered deported that the Prime Minister has now lost track of.
Like everything else.
What's his plan to find them and deport them?
Mr. Speaker, despite the Leader of the Opposition trying to pretend it's not true, Canada remains the best country in the world. And the fact that we are facing significant challenges like other places around the world is
Always blaming somewhere else in the world, or it's Harper's fault. Deport these people.
we will continue to roll up our sleeves. We will continue to defend Canada's interests, defend Canada's borders.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
We have the best country with the worst Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker. He's weak, woke, and wasteful, and he's lost track of 30,000 people who have been ordered deported but have now vanished. Now, we have millions of other people who are going to come up for exit when their permits and visas expire over the next year and a half. And the Prime Minister won't tell us what's the plan to get the people out of the country who are not supposed to be here.
He doesn't want them out of the country. He wants them stealing your car, doing home invasions, and all that other good stuff that he doesn't want to crack down on.
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians continue to have confidence in immigration as a good thing for our economy, good thing of our country, because they know we have a strong and rigorous immigration system.
Just so rigorous. Just bringing in the most robust, high-level car thieves, home invaders, and bank robbers. Don't forget about those jewel thieves, though. Trudeau likes to bring in the jewel thieves as well.
What we are continuing to defend, that is what we fight for every single day.
Minister who's lost control of spending, debt, and inflation. Workers are now forced to fight to make up lost wages. That's why last year, Canada had more strikes than any year since 1981. That is, since the last Trudeau was breaking the country and its economy. Now, Mr. Speaker, Canadians are suffering because they can't get their donations to charities, small businesses can't get their payments, and the economy is losing millions. Will he sit down the two sides, get a deal, and put an end to this dreadful strike?
That Canada Post strike is dreadful. While I spend most of my time making these videos on this channel, I do have a hiking channel. I've been waiting for a package since the start of the strike. I ordered it just before the strike. It happened, and I've been waiting ever since. And considering I review hiking gear on my hiking channel, if I can't get the gear, I can't make the videos. This is just my one small example here. There are tons of businesses across Canada who rely on Canada Post, which is destroying their businesses.
We believe that the best deals happen at the bargaining table, which is why the minister has got the two sides of Canada Post together to try and find a solution.
There you have it. Justin Trudeau can't hold himself in the House of Commons against Pierre. It's embarrassing. What's even more embarrassing, though, is how he's handling himself with Donald Trump. He goes and meets with a guy hoping that's going to smooth things over, and then he's running his mouth about how Trump shouldn't have won. And Kamala Harris, who didn't even win primaries to be able to run in the election, which should seem illegal, loses the election fair and square. She was the one who was supposed to win because a woman was supposed to be the first president. If Justin believes in that so much, how about he gives up his seat to Chrystia Freeland so she can be the first female prime minister in Canada? He's not going to do it because he's a greedy narcissist. This situation is only going to get worse.